Opio La Amanu Okloler, taking us through chapter 65, page 65, which says, who exactly is President Museveni? You're a man who knows this man because you're competing with him in the Democratic Party. You're a man who is in the political party and actually one of the oldest political party, according to this book. Actually, and it mentions that who exactly is President Museveni according to that book and according to you?
Well, first of all, I wish to take the opportunity. I will get back to this, but I wish to take the opportunity to appreciate the courage of Professor Kanyehamba, because oftentimes intellectuals have been criticized as people who have not done much, who have not done anything. So if we have people in the intellectual arena who can come up and criticize and put their thoughts on record, I think it is worth appreciating. I am going to address the question based on all that has been written, because I read a whole book. And I think, Professor, I think in the introduction, he talks about how President Museveni approached him and inquired whether he would take up the job of a cabinet minister in his cabinet, because at the time, President Museveni was constituting his cabinet. And in Professor's mind, he knew that he was going to be appointed Minister of Justice and the Attorney General, because based on his background of law, he was fit to be deployed there. Unfortunately, or rather fortunately, he was appointed Minister of Commerce. To his consternation, he inquired, why have you appointed me Minister of Commerce? And yet I am a lawyer. I thought that the Ministry of Justice is my share. And I love the answer that President Museveni gave to him about honesty and integrity. We are looking for honest people. We are looking for people with utmost level of integrity. And now that Commerce being a key ministry, I could definitely not look further than you, because based on your integrity and honesty, you do deserve. So the qualification is honesty for you to be in that position. I do not see President Museveni a honest person based on what has been reduced or condensed into a writing. Because if you look at the scenarios and what he speaks, I can give you an instance where Professor was accused of hiking import prices on imported products. And yet it was a cabinet resolution which needed to be owned collectively, collective responsibility. But it is written, Professor puts it down, and he emphasizes that he had to take the blame and shame,
but still
for a decision that was taken collectively. And the person who orchestrated or who made that blame on him and brought it to the public was President Museveni. I remember the story that he gave him when he inquired. So I am an innocent man. It is written that President Museveni answered the good professor that, you see, in Kinyankore there is a man who went hunting, and no, it was not hunting. It's a man who was attacked by a lion, but he was a sacrifice. Actually, he cut off his small finger and he gave it to the lion. So in the process of the lion, feasting on this finger, they were saved. The others were saved, and then he saved the whole part of his body. So to him, you can do a simple injury in quotes, a simple injury to someone, as long as he is to protect himself and his government. This actually brings it out clearly that whatever thing that dents President Museveni's image, he is someone who is willing to do anything to atone that. It does not matter whether what he is doing is illegal, whether what he is doing is morally wrong, whether what he is doing does not actually make sense. He does it anyway. He focuses on one thing: himself, himself, himself. That is the reason why he even went to the extent of sacrificing and painting a good professor a bad person outside there. That's one. Two, this afternoon I was at Uganda Road, in the case of Kakwenza.
Yeah.
And what is he being accused of? Because he actually spoke words of vituperation. It is alleged that he spoke words of vituperation against the powers that be, the father and the son. And recently, there are some statements that are made by President Museveni, only that Ugandans sometimes take them for granted. A few days ago, President Museveni stood up and said, I named my son Muhozi because he's the one to avenge those that do me wrong. And in my perspective of those statements is that, one, so Lieutenant General Muhozi was avenging Museveni by torturing Kakwenza. That's one. Two, I think President Museveni has realized that he's sitting on a volcano, to the extent that he's not sure who is with him and who is not with him. So he had to send a message that whoever that does wrong to me, I have someone who is going to avenge on my behalf. So there is absolutely no honesty in President Museveni. He is a dishonest man. That is one qualification. The second one, there is no goodwill to fight corruption. Actually, there were attempts, I think 1 month ago or thereabouts, where the IGG came up with a strategy of lifestyle audit. A lifestyle audit, as Democratic Party, we included it in our manifesto 2021. And our view was, we needed to audit people. There are many people who are owning arcades in the middle of town, in the central business district. Very expensive. But when you are to interrogate and investigate the source of their income, even if they have worked, in assumption that they have worked for over 20 years, they may not be able to accumulate the wealth that can put up such arcades, such properties. We were alive to the fact that there are people who do business. But then, if it is a business, in lifestyle audit, you must be able to show us the business and how much it does give you in terms of profit. On that day, when the IGG brought out the idea, hoping that President Museveni perhaps will appreciate her, she was actually overawed by the response that President Museveni gave. In my opinion, I think by the statement that we are still lucky, I quote, we are still lucky that our corrupt people do invest here So you should be careful with that strategy. In my opinion, it is actually a condonation of corruption. Now, when Professor brings out corruption as one of such areas that have defeated Museveni, I really agree with him. And in fact, in my opinion, if you were to ask me to qualify President Museveni in the second, I do say he is not only an abater of corruption, he is not only a promoter of corruption, but he is corruption itself. I want to tell you that corruption is very, very dangerous to our country. The regime apologists have always boasted about infrastructure development. But if you to interrogate and deeper further, what are they boasting about and how much have we spent in acquiring that? You definitely realize that we would rather have our old roads as they were in 1986 than to have these ones that are just, it's like leaving a child with a maid at home or a house help at home, and you task her with the responsibility to ensure that the child feeds. And instead of feeding the child, the house helper just gets the porridge, for instance, and smears it on the mouth of the child, such that by any chance, if the child leaks, that is what goes into its body. Now, that is what we are getting. I want to tell you, we have over 20,000 kilometers of main roads. The ones you'd say these are UNRA roads. But the NRM has constructed not more than 60,000 kilometers, tarmacking, not more than 6,000 kilometers. That in essence means that the NRM government would need 140 years to construct the 20,000 kilometers of the roads. I am trying to draw all of this such that I put you closer and our viewers closer to what corruption can do. Indeed, President Museveni lacks the will to fight corruption, because somebody who has the will to fight corruption, you cannot speak statements that promote the corrupt.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll come back to you with some queries.
Fine.